What's up, and welcome to this week's episode of G Vegas Gridiron. This week, we are blessed and excited to be joined by Mr. 3-0 himself, Mr. JT No Matter What. Mr. Hard to Believe JT fell to number 4. Straight from the cornfields, we got Ricky Nichols with us. Ricky, how you doing, dude?
Excited to be here. Like I said on my presser, first time children have been 3-0. So excited about that. Tough matchup this week, but ready to rock and roll.
Dude.
All right, Ricky, that's a complete lie that you had a tough matchup this week. We all know that. That was a guaranteed win from day one.
Yeah, looking forward.
I got you.
Ricky, were you nervous at all when you saw Chris acquire Jordan Love? Like, did that put anything in your heart and soul,
100%.
or were you just like, nah, like I'm good?
No. I had no worries up until that point, and as soon as I see that trade go through, I was like, not only is this a terrible trade for Corbin, it's also just a terrible trade for me to continue the streak of beating everybody in the podcast the first 3 weeks of the season. I was deathly afraid of him getting Jordan, because that was his weakest point, and he gave up, Debo, who was immediately put back on the trade block after the trade went through. So the whole thing just made absolutely no sense to me.
That was awesome, dude. Ricky, there's a lot of places we can go, right? We can start with Corbin calling you out on your process of trades. We can start with you taking JT at 4. But I kind of want to start with you starting 3-0, man. Like that's pretty baller, dude. Like how are you feeling about your team overall?
It's beyond my expectations. Looking at the schedule, at the beginning of the year, was not expecting to go 3-0 against you guys. I thought for sure I'd drop, 2, maybe all 3, but that's how fantasy works. It's just week to week. You never know the kind of matchups that are gonna play out. Who's going to get injured, who's going to get traded. Typically in the first 3 weeks is when you see the big ads, the big trades, the big, waiver wire money flying all over the place. So it's just hard to say, but, beyond ecstatic to be in the position that I'm in right now and hopefully continue that as the year goes on.
Ricky, I got a question for you. So, we obviously have talked about how you're 3-0 on draft night. Walk us through what that experience was like for you. I feel like the public perception was that you didn't draft very well. Did you feel any of that chatter?
I'll start even before draft night. My initial plan was to go Gibbs. So the whole JT no matter what thing, absolute, just not even what was going on in my mind. If I had known without 100% or with 100% without a doubt that Gibbs wouldn't be there at 4, I probably would have traded back. But all the mocks I was doing, it was just hard to say. Does John go Saquon? Does he go Gibbs? Because I think you had him last year. Does he go Gibbs second year in a row? I just didn't know. I didn't know what his opinion was on how Gibbs performed for him. So not to say that I didn't have conversations to trade back, because JT was definitely my next pick no matter what. And thankfully that's paid off for me, at least the first 3 weeks.
Kind of to Corbin's point in his presser, did you ever think about possibly trading back like we kind of all grilled you on is, JT's not going to be there when he comes around, but so is the rest of the, the top 20 guys, right? It sounds like, you said, it wasn't as a done deal as you thought, but any thought or talk of a draft pick trade?
No, that's a super valid question. And yeah, I definitely had those thoughts, weeks, months prior to the whole thing going down. I actually had a message typed out in the trade chat saying, hey, looking to trade back to spot 9 through 12. But as I was like, you know what? The thought of Gibbs being there at 4, I'm just going to wait it out. And then if he's not, then I'll go Jonathan Taylor, because the thought I'm missing out on Gibbs if he were there at 4 would have made me feel worse than just drafting JT at 4 and living with it. I mean, again, it's all perception, right? So to me, Jonathan Taylor at 4 made complete sense because I viewed him as a league winner at this point. Looking at statistics and just the way running backs pan out at this point in their career, it made sense that this was going to be kind of a boom year for him. So that was my guy, no matter what, if Gibbs weren't there.
I mean, to me, it's like you're going forward on 4th and 5 and you're in 20, and it is there is no okay about it. It's either 100% success or we are continuing to rail you about that pick. So, so far, so good.
So you were never going to take Saquon. It was either Gibbs or JT.
No, 100%. I mean, Saquon may end up being better than JT. I don't think it'll be by much. But for me, like I've ridden the Saquon train. He took me super far in 2022, my first year back in the league. That was, again, my process looking at running backs. I got Saquon at 14 that year. And he was just about a league winner for me. But that's, he was hitting 25, 26 that year, right where JT's kind of
Ricky, I think we're losing you.
Oh, can you hear me? Got me back. So for me, it was just a no-brainer absolutely to go with JT over Saquon, especially after the year that the usage that Saquon had last year. I didn't think he could keep that up for 2 years in a row.
Ricky, when Corbin called you on draft night, what was your initial thought when that call came in?
Well, I saw the 864 number and I was like, I know this is from the beach there over in North Carolina. And my initial thought was, if I were there right now, I'd probably be laughed out of the room. But then picking up and knowing it was Corbin, I was like, there's no way he's calling me about lecturing me about my draft process. And then to hear him again reiterate it on his press conference this week, talking about opportunity cost. Like, I'm teaching an economics class. I know what opportunity cost is. I don't need Corbin to come on there and tell me the opportunity cost of picking JT at 4 is a whole lot worse than trading back. I understand, Corbin, but I can't trade back in a minute that we have on draft night. So, I got to live with it. So, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, you got to live with being 3-0. That's tough.
That's hard. I hate that for you, man. I hate that for you.
Too.
So you mentioned kind of the heat of being in the draft room, sometimes literal heat of where we are at. Do you think you would have made a different decision if you were present in the room?
No, I probably would have ripped it faster, honestly, because I would have seen Jon doing it live, and I would have just been like, "Yep, done deal, boom." And then, I'm sure the eruption was just insane, and I would have loved to be there. I can't even imagine it. And just hearing you guys talk about it, like, I'm sure it was just awesome to be a part of.
I traded back at 16, 17, and he was one of the guys, JT, I was like, yeah, he'll probably be there, and definitely thought I would take him, and nope, no chance.
Dude, it went nuts because, like, you clicked him, you chose him within, like, 3 seconds, too. It was, like, so fast. Like, you had your guy. And all of a sudden we see him go off the board, and everyone just, like, I think I stood up and I screamed. Like, everyone just lost their minds. We're like, what is he doing? Like, oh my, no way. It was insane, dude.
I bet. I would have loved to see that. That would have been awesome.
Well, and then Ricky, as the night progressed on, and I don't think it was Chuba, but then you started taking, like, you took Tyler Warren at 4. I think maybe the second tight end off the board. Oh no, 4th tight end off the board, but still pretty high up. And then, Quinshon Judkins, who at that time had not signed his contract yet. And then immediately after, Jaden Higgins, and then Brandon Ayuk and Kyle Williams, who none of us had ever heard of. And we were just like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? Ricky always drafts so well, but like all of us almost in unison were like, his draft just gets worse and worse. But then you're 3-0. So what do we know?
No, and that's the thing. I think, people draft the way they want to. And for me this year, I was like, I'm going to go risky because early on, and it happens to everyone, but your plan there's no plan after pick 2. Like, you're just whatever's on. So for me, I'm just like, okay, who's a sleeper? Who's not? Judkins, would he sign? Maybe. That's a risky pick, but I went with it. Jonathan Taylor at 4, that's a risk. Like, my whole draft is just risk. risk reward. But I think at the end of the day, having the three pieces of JT, Baker, and Chuba, and then maybe even throw Ladd in there, that I was confident enough in those 4 picks to be like, okay, I can go from here and pick players that may have high risk, but could potentially be a higher upside as well.
On Judkins, I mean, obviously had a great week this week. I think there's still talk of possible suspension. Does that worry you at all, or we kind of go into it eyes wide open, knowing that hey, it's risk, but
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. If I weren't 3-0, I definitely would be worried, because starting off super strong definitely puts you in a different mindset of like, I could lose my entire team next week, but having the confidence going into the next 2 or 3 weeks of, hey, I've got a winning record under my belt, definitely puts me in a different mindset than with some of those players.
So Ricky, obviously hot start, but how do you feel like this team finishes out?
We got to score more than 180 a week, I think. There's a lot of teams, in the 190s, 200s. I love the consistency of it, but we're going to have to show that we can bump those numbers up from week to week. Absolutely.
I mean, you're the second highest points for, so you're consistent, and obviously the wins are there, so it's awesome,
dude. And I think too, looking at your team, I mean, Ladd really hasn't even done anything yet, right? Like everything has gone straight to Keenan Allen and even QJ out of nowhere, right? Like Ladd hasn't done anything, and then for Quinshon, for Judkins to come on, and he's only going to get better, right? It's like,
that's the hope, yeah.
and same with Chuba, like we saw him last year, like it took some time, but then Chuba crushed it towards the end of the year. And so looking ahead at your team, it's like, dude, if I'm you, I'm like, man, I'm 3-0 right now. Ladd hasn't done anything yet. Chuba's only gonna get better. Judkins is only gonna get better, and that's scary, man. That's scary.
Yeah, like I said, I like the spot I'm in. I really like where my team is at, as some of us like to say. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Like, I want to keep my eyes open to potential trades and potentially making my team better, because my team now could be completely different by the end of the year. And if I'm not willing to make those changes, then I may not win another game this year. So I think that's the other thing that's important, is don't get too comfortable with your team, because you have no idea how the rest of the season's gonna go for you.
Ricky, real quick, you just mentioned making some trades. Do you have a good trade analyzer that you're using that's a free tool that doesn't know how to evaluate talent whatsoever that you're sending to people?
I always reach out to Corbin before I send any trade offers out and have him put it through his spreadsheet. Because I mean, if he can get Debo for Jordan Love, then he's the optimal trade analyst for sure. And listen, I know we like to joke and stuff. I don't like making shots at Corbin, but he's done enough to me this year where I'm like, okay, we're gonna push back a little bit. But Corbin,
throw some punches, Ricky. Throw some punches.
I love the guy. I love hearing his analysis of things. Seeing what he has to say like that. It's
spoken
really
by somebody who wasn't there on draft night. Let me just say that.
I've been around him enough to know what you probably said.
Oh man,
so, yeah,
it was hysterical.
Yeah. So on the you really were kind of downplaying the Colts offense. You go and take 2 Colts players. Was that truly your thoughts and feelings preseason, or were you leading us down a path for a little bit there?
It's messed up, Ricky. It's messed up, Ricky. It was all part of the plan. It was all part of the game. It's messed up, man.
It was very active, but I would say initially when it was first announced, I was like, this is the worst decision our organization's ever made. But then as I looked at it, I was like, you know what? JT's probably going to get more touches because of this, and Daniel Jones loves a good safety blanket. So if I can target those 2 guys, get them on my team early, and deter everyone else from picking up on that, then maybe I have a shot of because Tyler Warren coming out of college, I was so hyped that the Colts drafted him, and again, could not have predicted the start that he's had so far. But just absolutely love that I was able to grab him. Even if he was a reach, again, I think reaching is only in the eyes of whoever's perceiving the draft. To me, it wasn't a reach. I thought he's going to be the fourth best tight end in the league, and he may end up doing that this year. So.
Well, Ricky, I got to confess to you, I actually was targeting Tyler Warren that next round. Ended up getting stuck with TJ Hawkinson, and I wish I would have reached for him because my team would be a lot better off.
Well, I tell you what, I think next time when it comes to reaching, again, I think we just need to run it by Corbin and see if somebody's reaching or not. Because again, that dude knows ball,
2-1.
Yeah. 2-1.
It is unreal that he's 2-1, by the way.
Kind of makes me sick.
All right, Ricky, I want to change the focus here for just a second. We've been talking a lot about your fantasy team and a hot start. I want to talk about the actual NFL. Okay, we normally don't do that on this podcast, but I want to hear your take on the Tush push. All right, it's got to be cheating, right?
What's that?
Don't hold back, Ricky. Don't hold back.
I hate it. It should be. No, I honestly did not have an issue with it up until the beginning of this year. They've been doing it since they first, had that run to go to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs the first time they played them. Used it a lot in that Super Bowl. They've just gotten better since then, better at executing it. And honestly, from a football perspective, the fact that the whole team is able to be involved in a play like that is what you want out of a team sport. I think the issue that I have is that it's gone beyond that. And because it's such a controversial talking point now, the Eagles are getting to the point where they're like, let's rub it in their face. We're going to toe the line. We're going to do everything we can to piss off every single team that possibly goes up against us, even if that means we break the rules a little bit, false start, line up offside, there's probably 2 or 3 penalties they could call on that play every single time they run it. But for whatever reason, the NFL hasn't cracked down on the Eagles doing it. Every other team, though, there's a penalty that gets called at some point. But for whatever reason, the Eagles do it so well, and that's not a shot. It's just like they're so good at executing it, the refs just don't expect to even call anything on it. And I think that's the issue that a lot of people have, even if they're not articulating it that way. They just want it banned. I don't think and I don't think it can be banned unless you ban pushing your own players. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
So let me ask you this: if you talked about how they are kind of rubbing it in team spaces now, with the false starts and lining up offsides, is that something then that you feel like has developed like this season or more recently, or have they been doing stuff like that this whole time?
I have not personally noticed it. I think it's like any other rule that just doesn't get noticed, it doesn't get called. So, for example, Jawan Taylor on the Chiefs, he jumps pretty much every time they snap the ball. He's early jumping off the line, or he's misaligned with the center. He doesn't line up close enough to the belt or the waist of the center. Illegal, but it doesn't always get called. So I think it's just the lack of consistency, I think, is where the issue, where it becomes more of an issue. You saw it with a couple years ago. I keep bringing up the Chiefs just because they're the other controversial team, but with Kadarius Toney lining up offside to beat the Bills, basically, when is that ever called? And with the Eagles, it never is. But it's like, because the NFL eyes are so heavily on the Chiefs, they have to make it look like they're not for them all the time. And unfortunately, that may be what ends up happening with the Eagles as well.
From what I've heard people say this, is that the Eagles are the new Chiefs. I've heard some people say that. I don't know how true it is, but it's kind of seemingly that way. The Eagles are becoming the new Chiefs, where calls just happen to go, kind of lean the Eagles' favors in big moments. I've heard that rumor kind of be thrown out there a little bit.
Listen, my message to Philly is this: if you don't want to be the new Chiefs, don't cheat to win games. Don't line up offsides. Don't false start. It's that simple. It's that simple, Chuck.
Well, Don't be
Okay.
a-holes about it. I mean, like it's one
Right.
thing to do it and then just be like, oh yeah, we're doing it. We don't care. We're the new bad boy. Like, okay, but that's just kind of they say they're the city of brotherly love. Like every Philly fan I know is quite the opposite of that motto, and I think it's hilarious. I know we always joke about it, but it's just
No,
such a
it's true.
funny
Well,
motto.
going back
It's
to
so true.
going back to, I mean, it was Jason Kelsey as the center when he first did it. There's tons of videos of him from where the ball is spotted, moving it essentially to the first down.
Mhm.
And again, it's no one's looking. I mean, these guys are smart guys. They get paid millions of dollars to put a ball between their legs, and of course
Pause.
they're going to try to. Of course, they're going to try to get every advantage they can get.
Well,
Yeah,
and the
I mean, I
opposite
just
side of that is I've seen the defense get called for lining up in the neutral zone on those plays. So
Yeah.
it's not even just
Yeah.
they're not calling it on the Eagles; they're also giving the Eagles a free first down because they're more strict on the defense than they are calling it against the Eagles.
Yeah, I just feel like to call the rest of the league sore losers when you're false starting every single play, no one's being a sore loser. Like we get called for that when we make normal plays. So like, why would you not? We just want equity in the officiating decisions, and we're not seeing that. Eagles are the new Chiefs.
Sure. 100%. Oh man, that's good. All right, let's jump in. Let's kind of let's jump back into fantasy football world a little bit to the greatest league in this side of the Mississippi.
Amen.
All right, let's jump into kind of this past week's matchups. We'll just do a quick rundown of this past week's matchup. James, I'll toss it over to you as far as between Ricky's matchup.
Yeah. So Ricky and Chris had a game that we talked about it earlier. Ricky was the favorite this whole time, and I think this is the first game that has actually survived the commissioner's curse, because I said last week that Ricky was my lock to win this game, and after the Jordan Love trade, I really felt like the commissioner's curse may have hit again. But his team really came through in a big way, and Jordan Love really disappointed. Jordan Love took 5 sacks, only completed 18 passes, only 183 yards, 1 score, and then threw an interception. Finished with 9 points. And then you got Jonathan Taylor just going off. I mean, the Titans were beat solidly, and this dude's still out here, ripping off 40-yard runs. It was incredible. So Ricky ended up winning solidly, but during the week after the trade, I think things definitely felt a little bit more close.
Yeah, agreed. I'm gonna take a look at Chuck's matchup against Rory just real quick. Just Rory, come on, dude, 129 again, like that's just
seriously, come on, dude.
Oh man, but 129 with a 170 sandwiched in there. Sorry, Kamish.
Thanks, pal.
But I think what stuck out to me for Chuck's matchup is friggin' Amari Hampton. I mean, went off for 25, and lucky for him. I hate this for Najee, but Najee being out for the year. Now Amari Hampton is stepping up. Obviously, Lamar had a good game. Ashton Genty is still struggling, but I think that's only going to get better as the year goes on. So props to Chuck. Amari Hampton went off. Great work, man. Chris, what about you, dude? In my matchup against Wes.
Yeah, looking at Tank for Arch versus Plaxico's gun and run. So Wes took it 180 points to 165. Libby, you had some guys pop off. Jamar Gibbs putting up almost 30 points, and really, it's a weird matchup. No one on Wes's team really popped off. It's a very consistent. Mac Jones had 16. Derrick Henry had about 10. Bucky Irving had 15. His highest scoring player is Mark Andrews with 25, which obviously is great. But just kind of all around getting points. And a stat that might make you sick is offensive. Both of your teams are pretty similar. So, and you actually outscored him by about 7 points, and it all came down to the defense.
That's crazy.
He takes the cake, about 20 points higher on the defensive side of things.
Oof, that's crazy. That does make me sick a little bit. Oh well, I'll give you one, Wes. You're the new guy. I know you needed one. Ricky, I'm gonna toss it over to you for Billy Buck's game against Maverick, man.
Yeah, this was another one where, predictions wise, it looked like it should have been pretty close. But man, the Billy Buck, and I have it written down because I wanted to call it out. Super, super impressive this year, especially after, kind of the bad luck he's had in this league years past.
Yep.
But man, his guys are showing up. His team is popping off, and it's, like we talk about, it's not just the offense. Like he's got dudes on the defense that are, showing up week after week and putting up points for him. So another 200 plus point game for him. He's rolling. He's definitely one to beat in the league this year.
Agreed. Agreed. James, talk to me about Iceman and DJ's matchup.
Yeah, so this is a matchup that felt a little bit more like a toilet bowl. Iceman wins it 156 to 119, and a couple things I want to call out here. Chase Brown and that Cincinnati offense at this point, at the beginning of the season, I think we all could have agreed that was a really solid pick, but the outlook on him, I don't know that I've seen a running back's outlook drop so quickly during a season than Chase Brown. He finished with 5 points in a game that the Bengals lost 10-48 against the Vikings. Not that will be the norm, but I do feel like behind that bad of an O-line and just the QB situation over there, he could be in trouble. Malik Neighbors got hurt for him. Tet only had 6 points. He struggled, but we've given Rory a hard time for scoring 128 points. DJ.
Yeah.
119. Underneath 120. There's a stat here that I find really interesting about DJ's team, and I know he refuted it, and he's 2-1, and that's great, man. I'm really happy for you that you're 2-1. If you take a look at the all-time lowest season points, okay, and it's ranked by points per game, we actually have 3 people in the top 5 of that list from the 2025 season so far, okay? I'll fully admit I'm on there. All right, I'm at number 4. I'm averaging 153 points per game. Number 3 on that list, again, all-time lowest measured by points per game, Big City Belief.
Oof.
They're 2-1, but he's number 3 all-time lowest scoring teams per game.
Oof.
I don't think that's a fluke. I think his 2-1 record's a fluke. And I think Noel was right about DJ from the start. And also, by the way, number 1 in all-time lowest points right now, 2025 Rogue Broncos. So, interesting little tidbit for you there, but I wanted to highlight Big City Belief in particular after the shots he took at me this week.
Oh, that's a good stat. I'm glad you pulled that out. DJ, can't wait to hear your take on that. That'll be fun. All right, I'm going to look at I think the most surprising victory from this past week was Corbin over Kurth. Absolute shocker. Very surprising. Jalen Hurts going for 33 because they actually threw the ball. CMC is still healthy. I don't know how long that's going to last. CTE Cam Scatabo somehow went for 24. Ricky Pearsall for 18. So like he had some dudes pop off. And then Kurth struggled, man. Quarterback position struggled. His flex spots position struggled. It was a struggle for Kurth, and that was very shocking to see Corbin put up 190 and take the win against Kurth. That blew my mind. I did not expect that. And then it cracked me up how this past weekend, this past presser, Corbin talked about how his defense actually showed up when he never starts anybody on the defensive side of the ball the first 2 weeks of the season. And then he's like, oh, yeah, my defense actually showed up. It's like, yeah, defense actually does matter, you doofus. Anyway, throwing that out there. Chris, talk to me about the Figueroa Bowl.
Figueroa Bowl, Dolphin Death versus Golden Reaper.
Yeah.
So Dolphin Death, coming off, I don't know if he was the lowest scoring last week, but he had about 130 points and really rebounded back to what his team's potential probably truly is. Although I don't know if the projections were ever super close. Again, he put up 130 points, and even even an 0-3 James can sometimes put up that many points. So, really a toss up the whole week. Dolphin definitely relying heavily on Josh Allen. Another excellent week for him. Getting a start on Thursday, and then David Montgomery, really popping off. So a handy win by Dolphin Death. Definitely think last week was a fluke. But again, I think in last podcast I said this could really be one to watch. Could be close.
Yeah. All right, last one. Ricky, bring us home. Highlighting last week, we got the Bowl City Bots versus Bad News Baby Mamas.
Yeah, this is one. I don't know if everyone did. I expected this one to be a lot closer. I think someone even called it the game of the week, just being the North Carolina Bowl. But projections wise, again, like should have been another close one. Just looking at the teams, Marcus Mariota popping off for 23. I say popping off because for him that's probably one of the best games of his career, at least in the last 6 years. J.K. Dobbins, a lot of people thought he was on the downward slope this year. He had a really good game. Nico Collins out of nowhere, after putting up a couple of duds to start the year. But just the other side of it is Noel's team. I don't know if anyone outscored their projections like in the offense. Like I'm going down the list here. Every single one of them, it looks like they scored less than what they were projected to score this week. Some of them like half. So you just can't win games when not a single one of your offensive players is putting up points for you. So I think that's where the week was kind of lost for Noel, and just the offensive players just not showing up for him.
Yeah. All right, highlight any transactions, whether waiver wires. I know there were a couple the one trade that we've talked about a little bit, back and forth. But any, let's talk waiver wire, man. $61 on Luther Burden. $61.
It's crazy, man.
That was insane.
Here's what feels insane about that. So obviously, for anyone that watched the Bears-Cowboys game, he had a good game. He had a great play. He had one great play. The dude was targeted 3 times. He has 6 targets on the season. Corbin, once again, taking guys that have very, very low production. I mean, his snap count, 27% week 1, 18% week 2, 29% week 3. He just happened to have one great play. And he is
a rookie though. He is a rookie though. So I mean, that kind of makes sense for Corbin.
I mean, James nailed it, and it's free information. The snap percentage is such a key indicator on how players are going to perform. Like, yeah, they could get lucky the 5 snaps they get in a game. Absolutely. But to pay over half of your budget for a guy that's on the field for 23% of the snaps. I mean, we
got
saw
$10 for my trade. Don't forget about that.
Oh, that's
Thanks
sorry.
a lot, Chris.
Still a little less than half, but regardless, I mean, we've seen insane numbers this year, and it's not just Rory. Like it seems to be a bug that everyone.
That comment.
But seriously, like Sterling Shepard 26, okay, that's fine. 21 for DeMarcado, RB2, like it's not bad, but we're paying starter money for guys that, again, we're kind of hoping someone else gets hurt in order for them to have a competent year. Again, everyone has different strategies, and it is what it is. We kind of figured Isaiah Rodgers was going to be up there. Wes spent $20 and no one else bid, so I think everyone was kind of scared that it was going to be a high bid and no one even tried. Yeah. But Wes took the bait, and that's it's a rookie mistake. We can say that because it's his first year. He doesn't really understand. Well, he kind of does because everyone's spending a large amount of money, but.
He's got no shot to understand based on the free agency that he's seen so far. With people spending $81 on Keyshawn Boutte, who he's gotten like 3 targets this season as well. And I will say this about West. I at least can understand the $20 for Isaiah Rodgers. I really just think no one else bid because we all expected the bid to be so high. Like, what's even the point? And he showed it. Like he got him, and no one else even put in a bid. But
That's the
like
thing about blind bids. I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like with Luther Burden, though, so $61. I think this is revealing too. Rory only bid 10.
Yo, this is the funny thing. He only bid 10. He only bid 10 because he only has $10. So he bid $10 on Burden. He also bid $10 on DeMarcado. Like he just throw his $10 out there and be like, please, Lord.
I do want to call out one more. And it's not just to kiss up on the commish, but James might this is what I was talking about. He picked up Jalen Tolbert for 13. Again, no one else bid, but just looking at the snap percentage, insane high, because if someone else had, he got someone who's on the field 88% of snaps for a third of what someone with 23% of the snaps. It doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is.
No, thank you, Ricky, for calling that one out. That might be the first decent move I made all season, and I will gladly pay $13 for Jalen Tolbert, who's going to be helping fill in, obviously, for CD while he's out, potentially for 4 to 6 weeks. And again, he got 6 targets against Chicago, which matches Luther Burden's targets for the season. So I'll take that all day for $13.
I do want to shout out Brad, who he didn't spend money on him, but he did pick up Juju, but then later on in the day, then dropped Juju. So shout out Brad. Just fantastic. Love that. Well done. Well done, gentlemen.
I also think it's worth mentioning. So after we had that big waiver spend come through early in the hours on Wednesday morning, we saw a lot of really interesting names I thought get dropped.
Yeah.
All right. Pat Freiermuth, Adam Thielen, Russell Wilson, Tank Bigsby, DeAndre Hopkins, Jaden Higgins, who we mentioned him earlier, 7th round pick, maybe hasn't panned out this season, but we saw a lot of really interesting names get dropped. And I don't think they're the wrong decision. It's just interesting to see relatively big names get dropped because you don't see it very often in this league.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Looking ahead to next week, fellas, let's maybe each give a matchup that you're looking ahead to next week. Kamish, I'll start out with you as far as game of the week, and then Ricky, and then Chris, and then I'll land that plane as far as one matchup that you guys are kind of looking ahead to. Kamish, give me the matchup of the week though, man.
All right, so this game of the week it's one that I would not have, if you had told me this would be the game of the week in week 4, wouldn't have believed you. But I think there's really only one choice here, and it's the Presbyterian Bowl between Iceman and the North Korean Fighting Kims. Iceman is much better than his 1-2 record would suggest, and I believe that firmly, and much better than the 150 we saw from him last week. He's got a really decent team, and the Kims coming off a 190-point performance. We need to see if this team's for real. They've now won 2 in a row. They beat Wes, who I think is a good team, and beat Kurth, who has only taken, as we well know, it's been broadcast, he is 11-1 across all of his leagues with that one loss coming to Corbin. So I think if Corbin now wins 3 in a row, he might be a real problem. And I hate to say that, but I think his team could be in for a lot this season if he wins this game.
Don't say that. Yeah, I think Iceman really should be, honestly, he really should be 2-1, right? He is
Correct.
2-1, right? We had that first, whatever. But I agree with you. I think his team is much better than his 1-2 record.
Unlike the Eagles, we believe in an equitable league and proper punishments for proper crimes. So
that's good.
Correct, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Ricky, what about you, man? Looking ahead to next week, what's a matchup that's kind of standing out to you?
Yeah, I don't think this is game of the week material by any means, but the one that I'm interested to see is Chuck versus John, just to see if John can bounce back from, as we all call it at the beginning of the year, probably the worst loss you can have. At least the first 10 weeks. I mean, anytime in the season, it's hard to lose in that fashion. But I think when you play Corbin the first 5-6 weeks of the year and he's not filling out his roster, you're kind of like, okay, this is an automatic win. But like we talked about, Corbin's team showed up, John's didn't, and we'll see if John's does the same thing again this week.
Yeah, Jackson Dart starting for him, his first NFL start. So we'll see. We'll see how he does and how that can kind of translate to COT for Kurth, man. Chris, what about you, dude? Looking ahead, what's a matchup? What you got?
I gotta give an honorable mention real quick to Ricky versus DJ to pile on a little more with DJ. He has the 15th worst points for, only beat out by his fellow Rogue Broncos, and the 14th, I guess, best points against. He has 419 points against. Only two other people have less points against. So I think his record overshoots that. So the reason it's honorable mention, I think we're going to see the first 100-point club crowned by the undefeated 3-0 Children of the Corn on DJ. Don't worry, DJ, we believe in you, but this week it will not be your week. The real matchup is the CrossFit Bowl. Maverick versus Bad News, Baby Mamas. Very tight matchup. And projections 171 for Luke versus the 174 for Noel. I think it could be one of the closer matchups. Got some big names in there. A lot of potential for some stuff. We're gonna have some early morning Sunday games to start it off in Ireland, and yeah, we'll get the day started. I think that'll be a good matchup to watch.
Oh, Chris, I love that.
Chris, how much worry do you think Noel should feel if his team drops to 1-3?
Yeah, it's tough. Noel always puts out a good team. I mean, you got to be worried, right? I mean, you got to be worried. It's as being experienced in this. If you don't make the playoffs, no matter how good your team is, you could be looking down the barrel of a lot of hot dogs. Starting with 1-3, it's going to be tough to come back, even if you have a really good roster, to get out of the toilet bowl. I think he's had a lot of players that have kind of underperformed. We talked about it earlier a little bit, but Justin Jefferson put up 10 points this week in a game that was, I think, 48-10, and he got 0 touchdowns, hardly any yards. I mean, part of it's probably rest your starters, but you would expect him to have some touchdowns to produce some more points. Brian Thomas, I mean, just seeming to be a bust at this point. I think he'll turn it on and hopefully put up some more points. But so far in the season, not looking good. So I'm worried at 0-3. I'd be worried at 1-3, just because if you can start 3-0, the chances that you're going to the toilet bowl are very slim. And if you start 1-3, they're high.
One might say, what type of regression would that be considered, Chris?
Yeah, so looking at the linear regression,
right, that's what it is.
Of his players, yeah, it's very high. So I did some Monty Python simulations, and being 1-3 is not good. That's what the simulation produced. So cool.
No, I appreciate that analysis. I think that's really in depth. Good stuff, man.
I'll share the spreadsheet later. Don't worry.
That's awesome. All right, my matchup. I'm looking at Commish versus Bowl City Bots, man. Commish, I'm sorry, dude. I hate this for you, man. I do. I hate this for you, dude. I mean, it's CD being out. It's brutal. You got Jalen Tolbert. That's awesome.
I got Jalen Tolbert. Great player.
But CD being out, that's just painful. You're going up against the Bots this week who, statistically, he's the number 2 offensively ranked team in the league, right? So, like, his team is putting up some points. And then if you look ahead to next week, Kamish, you've got Iceman next week, who's the number 3 offensively ranked team in the league. And so if we're looking at this game, looking at next week's matchup, is man, I just think your team could be in a whole load of trouble, man. And I hate to say that, because I'm looking at my own team and I'm like, shoot, I'm 1-2. I'm going against Dolphin Death, and chances are it's not looking good. I'm probably going to get smoked. I'm going to be 1-3, and it's going to be bad. But I think for me that is a matchup to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, if by keep an eye on you mean the lock of the week, that is my lock of the week this week is Big Bad Brad the Bot going to 3-1 against me. I think Sleeper has finally figured out my team, and Sleeper is now projecting me at 152, which is close to where I normally score, while they used to project me at least at 180, which was respectable. So they've given up on me. I'm close to giving up on me. And I got to admit, I looked at the schedule, John, earlier today.
Yeah.
And I just looked through and I was like, loss. Like I could see my team being the first 0-14 team this league's ever seen. But I have faith that I would win one of weeks 15, 16, or 17. I just need one. I don't care. I can go 0-14 and live with that. I need that one. And I think it'll come.
I would love to put a bet that you will win a game before me, not including my next matchup with Rory. Cross that one off. Maybe we'll come back to it next week.
Let's come back here next week. Yeah,
but
if you somehow lose Chris, let's make that bet.
I am going to be even if I win, I'll take that from then on out.
Yeah, because I also that's a close second, and my lock of the week is you to beat Rory.
Don't do this to me again, man. I need some hope. I am also in a similar boat with you, where I start looking ahead. I start looking to buy. Next week is the first week we're gonna have bye weeks, and there's gonna be some rough weeks. Rough weeks. So.
Yeah, I will say, and this is just, I don't like giving advice that's not asked, but I've been in that boat where I was 1-5 that one year where I had Justin Fields, Gibbs, and Jefferson so high on draft night and just abysmal to start the season. The worst thing you can do is look at your schedule the rest of the year. Because I tell you what, the most depressing fantasy year of my life, just going and being like, same with you, James, just lost. A couple of wins sprinkled in there, but man, that was very difficult, absolutely. So just look at your current matchup. Please do not look ahead.
See, that's the problem, Ricky. I can't even look at my current matchup. I have to look at past seasons. I got to go back and look at the spreadsheets from past years to feel somewhat decent.
Hey,
to feel somewhat in control.
Start thinking ahead to fantasy hockey. That'll do it for you.
Oh yeah. No, actually, I will say my saving grace right now is that, and actually Ricky's in this league. We're doing a fantasy Premier League, and I am 5-0. Somehow I'm 5-0. I'm 0-3 here. I wish I could swap those. I would pay large sums of cash to swap those. My coworkers have already talked to me about how to spread out the hot dogs. And they've asked if I'll be willing to do it at the office, which I told them absolutely not. Never will happen.
That's awesome.
Hey, one question I do have on that. Did we say if by some miracle the loser doesn't win a game, what is the timetable for?
You have a minimum of 24 hours. Like we have to give you 24 hours. Yeah. So that's a great question, Ricky. Thanks for asking that one. There might be a legal loophole to add more time in there. I'm not really sure yet. I haven't had my lawyers explore that, but Corbin's on it and he's looking into that for me.
He'll create a loophole for himself.
We'll do a work day. It'll be a work day. It'll be you've got to eat them from 9 to 5. That'll be what.
In the office.
In the office.
In your office, at school.
Dude, can you imagine live streaming that one and you're in the office and you're just no one in the office knows you're live streaming. I think that would be so you're walking in a meeting just chowing hot dogs Well, this whole thing's on camera, and not only that, you've messed up a huge project that you had. You're getting ripped to shreds on the live stream while chowing hot dogs. Your job is on the line. Oh, that would be must-see
You just walk
TV.
into the break room with 5 hot dogs and 5 more, like microwaving them up.
And your boss is just laying into you and like telling you to stop, but you just can't. You just keep going.
Man, that would be a great day to have some like diversity training. Just have to sit there.
That kind of reminds me of an episode of like I Think You Should Leave from Netflix, where it's just like you're just eating hot dogs in the workplace and just can't put them down, no matter how hard the boss tells them to stop. The whole office is just crying.
Yeah, well, no, you're crying. You're sobbing in the corner. Like, guys, trust me, I want to stop so badly. I just can't. No, the outlook is bad enough. And Chris, you might feel similarly to me at this. I'm just curious where your mind's gone. I have started thinking through, like, am I going to grill these? Like, am I going to put them on the Blackstone? Like, if I have to eat them, I don't really want to boil them or microwave them. I might as well and I could put 70 on the Blackstone, no problem.
Yeah. I've thought way too much about this. Even before my team was 0-3, honestly, and my strategy that I would give advice to whoever loses, that definitely won't be me, is I'm going to wake up, start my morning just like Joey Chestnut. I'm going to give myself 10 minutes to down as many hot dogs as possible, and then based on how many I'm able to get down, plan out the rest of the day. I'm going to try to divide it evenly between how many ever days we have, and it's going to be brutal. I started pricing out hot dogs. I've been consulting my wealth advisor, Luke Brooks, on how to take money from my life insurance and put it into these hot dogs and start saving correctly for that. So, yeah.
Don't tell your life insurance why, because they may up your.
That's very true. This cannot be online. But no, what I think we should actually do is part of whoever's eating hot dogs, we should record a podcast while they're having to go through a spell of eating hot dogs.
Well, I think that's good because we talked about like it has to be live streamed. We might as well have the podcast. We might as well go visit them wherever they are.
Absolutely.
So you guys are welcome to come over to my house that day, and I'll make sure that the doors are unlocked for you. Because one of my favorite things about Chris when he did the Waffle House punishment, and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you had someone with you like throughout the day visiting the whole time, didn't you?
So here's what's great. I showed up at noon. I had a call at 1, and I took it in my car. And it was like a client call, like very legit. And I was trying to be kind of like discreet. And I worked my family. My dad was like, you know what he's doing? He's eating a bunch of waffles. And I'm sitting there. I think it was only about 3 waffles deep, so I wasn't like really feeling it. But I was like, yeah, and had to tell him all about it. And then after that, awesome. Chuck showed up, I think around 2, and then I had people with me the whole time. I'll say this: I would much rather do that challenge than any other challenges, any of the punishments we've had. It ended up being really fun, and like I said, I got home and ran a mile, and like fastest mile I've run in a very long time. So I was all carbo loaded, ready to go.
Yeah, one of my coworkers reminded me they said the CDC, but I know it's not the CDC. But whoever is the health, I don't know if it's the FDA, whatever, whoever's over that, Kurth probably knows and is mocking me right now. But they recommend 2 hot dogs a year for health reasons because they're so highly processed. So
to a year? A year?
I just like apparently
you're good for 35 years.
That's the thing. I'm like, Chris at least can look back on the waffle thing and be like, yeah, that was fun. I just don't see anyone doing this. I feel like their life has changed from that day forward, and not in a good way.
No. Hey, it'll be a great story.
It'll be a great story to tell my kids one day. Can't wait.
When your fun fact of, an icebreaker question is that you ate 72 hot dogs, and
that's actually pretty awesome. It really is. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Oh man. All right, Ricky, give us bottom 3 and top 3 teams, man. Who you got right now?
Do you want me to start at the bottom?
Start at the bottom. Give us the worst of the worst. do it.
All right, I'll start with my 3, and then it goes 2-1. The 3 was hard for me because I think there's a lot of injuries right now where you're just like, if they don't come back, like I'm looking at Kurth's team, he's got a lot of guys that, if they're out for a substantial amount of time, he just may not be able to come back from the losses. The next 4 or 5 weeks are going to be very telling for him. If he can win 2 or 3 of those matchups, if he ends up losing all 4 or 5 of the next, weeks, it's going to be very tough for him not to be in the hot dog bowl. Tied with him, I'd probably say DJ, just because, like we said, he is 2-0 or 2-1, but the points for just aren't there, and historically speaking, that's not a good spot to be in. My 2, unfortunately, is James, and I think this week will be really telling. Like we said, from here on out, it's kind of must wins. And then, unfortunately, Rory does round out the list at 1 for hot dog ranks. I don't know if I've seen a lower projection for a team outside of Corbin, who just doesn't field a whole team, but 149 to start the week is very, very low. And just looking at who he has starting, Sam Darnold, Charbonnet, who's coming off an injury, RJ Harvey, who, may end up having a good season, but to start him right now is very tough. Jamar Chase, unfortunately, doesn't have a quarterback. You just kind of go down the list and you're just like, it's just hard to look at. And I hate saying that because I love Rory. He keeps up dialogue with me, always asks me how things are going, but man, I'm sorry, man, the outlook just isn't there. So hopefully some guys turn out and some things turn around, but it's gonna be a tough season, I think.
Ricky, before you go to the top 3, who does your gut tell you wins the hot dog bowl? Or by win, I mean loses the hot dog bowl.
Well, here's the thing. We start off, like, the first 4 weeks, we're like, oh, this guy for sure. Like, and then it ends up not being him. Like, I don't know if anyone ever predicted Billy Buck to be the end-all loser the 2 years that he did it. Chet was in there with them 1 year, and I think someone said to him at the beginning of the year. Again, just looking at teams, if I had to put money, I'd probably go with Rory, just based off the roster. I think there's way too many question marks and not a whole lot of depth for him, unfortunately.
Glad to hear it.
So yeah, my top 3, again, I'll start at 3 and kind of work my way up. I've actually got the bots. I think he's got a sneaky good team. If Daniels can stay healthy, Warren is RB1 in Pittsburgh. I don't know what he was crying about earlier. Nico Collins coming on as of late. Pickens with CeeDee Lamb, he could rip off 3 or 4 really good games for him. Tucker Kraft, solid tight end. Kenneth Walker's still probably RB1 in Seattle. And then one that I'm a little surprised. I didn't think he got a whole lot of recognition from the league, but Woody Marks, I think he could end up taking over that backfield, and he knows it. Like, the bots know it. Like, he knows that Woody Marks could be the guy for Houston, which is a really good spot to be in. I hope was he the one that? Yeah, I hope the booty thing doesn't come back to bite him in the booty, because
nice.
He spent a whole lot of money on that, and that's going to hurt him late in the year when he's got to pick up defensive players and stuff. But yeah, that'll be one to watch. And then my 2. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say one note about Bull City Bots. He has the second highest scoring offense, and where he is weak and faltering is really his defense.
Mm-hmm.
And defense, I think I always say is less consistent, but he's going to have less dollars to maneuver that. But if he can figure out his defense, he's right up there.
Yeah.
Yep. Chuck's my 2. I think he's got a lot of good players. Again, kind of an unconventional draft for him, like we've talked about a lot, but it's really starting to work out for him. I think his running backs will start to come on late with Genty and Hampton. Super, super surprised he went there, but it's really paying off for him. Ekbuka, Tyreek Hill, if he gets traded, I think, he'll end up having a good season as well. But look out for Philly cheesesteaks. I think he's got a good shot at making a deep run in the playoffs. And then number one, we've talked about it the last couple of weeks. I think Jose Equis, got to give him his props. Great start to the season, ton of points for him. I think he's only got one way to go, and that's up. So I think he'll continue to soar in the rankings and in the scoring this year.
Ricky, you're not going to pull a Maverick and put yourself in the top 3? You're not going to do it?
I'm not superstitious, but in the wise words of Michael Scott, I am a little stitious. So, we preach consistency, and we're right there. We're second in scoring, but we've got to keep that up, and I don't want to get ahead of myself by putting myself up there right now. So we'll see if we can prove it this week.
I love that. And can I just say real quick before we wrap up, I love that Billy Buck is having a great year. Like 100%. It is so long overdue for him, and he could not be a better guy. I am so happy for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
Agreed. Awesome. Any last thoughts? Any final words of wisdom? Final thoughts from any of you guys?
Not to bring up another controversial topic, and you can cut this out if you want to, but I want to know what, James, your thoughts are on the draft help. Using Fantasy Pros, do you foresee that becoming an issue and potentially banning it in years to come?
No, I don't, and here's why. AI in general has shown itself to be a helpful tool, but it's not a great source of truth. And so for any of these tools that we're using, whether it be Fantasy Pros, Corbin's own rankings, it's almost like the tush push, like where do we draw the line? All right. So are people not allowed to listen to podcasts now if we make this a rule? Are they not allowed to buy a magazine before the season? Whatever that may be that they're using to help them, at the end of the day, they still have to draft the team and own those decisions. And Fantasy Pros, maybe it has a trade analyzer tool that sucks like all the other ones, but there's so many decisions that go into a team over the course of a season that I don't think that Fantasy Pros alone is good enough to win you a league.
I'll tell you this, Fantasy Pros said nothing about taking JT at 4. So if that's a good decision, then...
Well, and I'll tell you this, Fantasy Pros said I had the second best team in the league on draft night. So that should be all the evidence that we need. No, everyone should use it. It sucks.
Well, again, according to Fantasy Pros, I should only win 3 more games. So hopefully I didn't curse myself. But we'll see what happens.
That's insane. Chris, James, got anything?
No.
The more I think about it, I think for ease, I'm literally just going to hot dog or microwave the hot dogs.
Oh.
Having to make that many, it's not going to be a pleasant experience. You just gotta make it quick.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and chime in then. One last thing. I got a Blackstone. I love the Blackstone. I love using it. If I'm going to have a miserable day, I might as well enjoy cooking them on the Blackstone.
Yeah.
And eating them as I'm cooking.
Get them right off and just
I might not even warm it up. It's coming straight from the fridge into a bun.
Straight to the gullet.
Straight
to the gullet.
Straight from the fridge into a cup of water and then down the throat.
Yep.
James, if it is you, are you going to experiment with burning one a little bit more, or just try and keep it consistent?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good question. If I grill them all into a big pile of ash, and I'm basically just eating dust,
or possibly a smoothie situation.
Or a
smoothie.
A hot dog smoothie. At what point is it
what's better? Chugging that down or eating 72 hot dogs.
Holy crap.
I mean, we have the uncharted territory here.
There's no way that this is a win.
Mustard and ketchup and relish and buns, just throw it in a smoothie, blend it all up.
Oh.
Is anyone else on Earth having this conversation right now?
No, in fact, my
heart rate... I'm about to run to QT.
My heart rate is rising.
Your heart rate will stay risen after 72 hot dogs.
My heart might stop.
EMT's on site.
Yeah, my body might just give up at that point.
We might need to get a professional medical opinion. John,
Joey does it every year. I think we're good.
Next time you run into RFK, could you get his opinion on 72 hot dogs? We need a real professional here.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Guys, this was fantastic. Ricky, appreciate you jumping on with us, man. This was a ton of fun. You're the man.
No, I appreciate the invite. It's a blast watching these and to be a part of it and just be a part of this league in general. I mean, it's a huge blessing for me and just really enjoy it. So I appreciate it.
This was awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, see y'all.
I got something I want to say when you're done recording.
Okay.
After